Hey everyone, it's Tim. Welcome back to my channel. I've been away for a little bit, but I've been writing and I have things that I want to share with you soon. But today I kind of wanted to just do a fun little, I guess, response video. Not that YouTube does those anymore, really, but the past week on Vlogbrothers, John had a video that I loved and I just really wanted to kind of emulate. And it was what his most valuable books were. And the way he described it was the financial value of the book times the amount of tears you would cry if you lost the book for some reason. So in my collection, this is one of several bookshelves about that size that my wife and I have to combine. And then my son has his own books too. So we have like our own little personal library here. There are some books that I have from a kind of collecting standpoint that are worth money to some degree, and then there's some that I can just trace back to specific memories of reading and why I loved reading in general, what got me to the point that I am today. So let's take a quick look at those. So we'll start with the financial ones first. I love the Lord of the Rings, and whenever I go to different bookstores, I'm always kind of on the lookout for different things. So kind of five, I guess, of my prizes are two first editions of the Silmarillion. So I have the British one, which is in excellent shape, and then a fairly beat up American version. The dust jacket has seen better days, but the pages inside are all intact. Maps look good. Very pleased with these. I wasn't even looking for them. I just found them at used bookstores that we go to all the time. And then, one of my kind of top prizes is a second edition printing of Lord of the Rings. I found these at a used bookstore for a small, small price that I won't say. Made me feel kind of bad buying them, but they're in really good shape for what they are. No dust jackets, but considering the age, the printing still looks pretty good. I've never read them. I have other copies that I've read. But these are my kind of delights that sit on the shelf and make me happy just to see them sitting there. Another one that may be my most expensive, but not really sure, and you might not even really be able to see it because it's been in plastic ever since I bought it, and I'll probably never take it out. But this is what really got me into kind of collecting first editions in the first place. When I first really got into Star Wars novels, obviously I had to go read the first one. So Alan Dean Foster wrote this basically like right as Star Wars came out, and it's Splinter of the Mind's Eye. It's the first kind of, I guess at this point we could say, legend non-canon story that basically kind of tells a quick little story of what happens between Luke, Leia, and Vader after New Hope. I've never even opened it, so obviously I had to buy a cheaper paper copy. But I mean, depending on the condition and if it was a book club version or not, you'll see this going for basically anywhere from $40 to like $400. I don't really have any intention on selling it. I just love to keep it, and someday my son will have it. Speaking of Star Wars, this one is the most important to me because it kind of got me into really loving to read adult books. So my friend Noah and I were playing Magic on his bedroom floor in like seventh grade, and I had never read a Star Wars novel. I read books, but they were middle grade books. But he had this, and I checked it out, and I didn't even know that there were Star Wars novels beyond, at that point, just the three movies, because only episodes 4 through 6 were out at that point. So Heir to the Empire, one of Timothy Zahn's best books, one of the best Star Wars books in my opinion. This really kind of dives into a whole bunch of other stuff that just springboarded me into loving the Star Wars universe. The expanded universe, depending on what you're going to call it. And that basically, springboarded me into just buying and consuming every Star Wars novel I could find. Many of these were purchased for like 50 cents a piece at yard sales or eBay lots. And I basically get my hands on every book that I can. And I don't know if you can tell, maybe I'll have to go through this at some point, but I have everyone chronologically in order throughout the story. And as new books come out that I enjoy, they make their way in there. Another one that's really important to me, Brief History of Time by Stephen Hawking. I bought this while I was on a semester abroad in London with my friend Mike. I bought this at the the observatory, and I just fell in love with it. I just started reading it like crazy, and it kind of caused me to go check out other people that I started reading. And, I started reading Neil deGrasse Tyson after this, and just Stephen Hawking really just describes it the way that made me happy. And this is a great book. I love this one. Call it cheesy, but because of John, I gotta include at least one of his. Turtles All the Way Down. Anybody who's known me for more than 5 minutes knows that I worry about everything and have anxiety issues that I work through. This was one of the first books I ever read where I really connected to the main character and issues that she had. So if you have any kind of issues related to that, I highly suggest you give this a read, because seeing what the protagonist goes through and how she deals with certain situations will at least make you feel like you're not the only one. Two that are from middle school. I love these ones. My wife gave me copies of each because I told her how much I love them, and she reads them with her kids. Hatchet by Gary Paulsen and The Giver by Lois Lowry. The Giver was one of the first really books that kind of intrigued me in school. It's such a weird concept, the fact that nobody had memories except, basically the chosen people, basically one and an apprentice at a time, to know all these bad things that used to happen to protect the other people. And I just thought it was so cool the way they did it. The movie's all right, but the book is really where it's at. And Hatchet, I grew up basically hiking and camping all the time when I was a kid, and riding my bikes through the woods. If you read The Dragon and the Whites, you understand my connection to the New England mountains and forests. Hatchet I just loved, because when I read it, I was maybe like a year younger than the protagonist, and it was so easy to connect with that person and just think, like, what would I do in that scenario? And the way he put this together, it's just such a good story. And then this is probably one of my most important. I doubt that it's worth any money, but it's the tier factor. So this is The Way Things Work by David McCauley, and I got this. It's a 1988 printing based on, there's no birthday inside there. My cousin Susan used to give me these kinds of books and write her name in it, so maybe my parents bought it for me and didn't sign it, but it's just full of such cool, funny little illustrations that explains physics and engineering issues. And I mean, it's 1988, so there's no like cell phones and stuff like that in here, but it goes through just basically like how cams and cranks work in a car, and how levers work, and pulleys, and just force magnification, and just, it's ridiculous. It explains it in a way that a little kid can read and enjoy, yet there's real concepts, and it probably pushed me down the path that I'm on now to be a mechanical engineer by day. If you have a young one in your life and you want to kind of get them into that world, I highly recommend you give them a copy of this. So yeah, those are my most valuable books. As you saw, some are valuable maybe in like the couple $100 range from a monetary standpoint, but a lot of my books are just valuable for the way they make me feel and what they did for me at the time that I was reading them. Some of these books I purchased at times that were low in my life. Sometimes I purchased them while I was on trips, and I look at those books and I can remember why I read that book at the time, why I needed it, or maybe I picked that up. I remember when I was in Iceland for a couple months, I read nonstop, and I was reading sometimes like 3 or 4 novels a week, because we went when there wasn't like a ton to really do outside. But we loved every minute we had when the sun was up. It was great, but I read a lot, and I can remember reading while on those trips, and the different food I ate while I was reading, and places that I went. I took it on hikes up mountains, and I'd sit there and just read while I had a snack. And I can look at almost all my books that I have and get that same feel. So tell me down in the comments what you think. What kind of books are valuable to you, whether they're monetary, memory, maybe a little of each. And I'd love to hear what you think. So until then, thanks a lot. I appreciate you checking it out, and have a good day. All right, bye.